Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse, and you're watching the Patreon bonus stories. And I mean, we record this straight through the show, so when we say that we're going to the Patreon bonus stories, we're not kidding. We literally just came off of Tony's awesome idea. I'm still super pumped about it, and I want to thank Tony because he's watching right now, and you rock, man.
Yeah.
It's really exciting because I was kind of doing that math when we were doing that in depth on agrivoltaics. And then I was getting super stuck. I was like, I can't find out how much, land spinach uses. Cause like we had talked to the CEO of Solar Window, and he was saying that like spinach likes to be shaded. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so you have bigger spinach leaves when it's shaded. You put agrivoltaics above it. It's like a perfect cycle. It makes total sense.
Yeah. Tony brought up so many interesting points. I didn't know that farmers spent so much money just to put up those hoop tents. That's a lot of infrastructure that can easily be damaged, first of all. Like if there's a wind or hailstorm, whatever, that damages it. A lot of labor that has to go into keeping that up and changing out the plastic. Right. So it's like, when you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, agrivoltaics makes so much sense because you could put up a semi-permanent structure with the solar panels on it, and then having them move could take care of all of you. You could just sit there with an app and be like, oh yeah, let's get a little more sun on those tomatoes, boom.
Right. And then to be able to, say to the farmer, okay, great, you're producing this electricity, which goes straight into your electric tractor.
Yeah.
Like, it all fits together so well, as opposed to like, drill oil out of the ground, and then we're going to have to ship it to some big place where they're going to refine it. Like
we're already so used to having a farm take up a lot of physical space.
Right.
Now having it also have solar, which, yes, you can power your tractor, but you could also power the grid.
You could power the grid, and he was saying that you could basically power all of the semi-trucks that be moving the food around.
One of the biggest things we hear from a lot of people, naysayers, is like, you're not going to have enough power for all your electric cars and trucks.
Or they're saying like, what, you're going to cut down the forest or get rid of arable land with your solar panels? And it's like, no, you can just put it over the crops, which there's thousands and millions of acres of.
It's amazing that we finally got to the point where this solar panel, right, is efficient enough and cheap enough that you'd actually start thinking about, hey, we could put it in a farm.
Right.
And once you open your mind to that, you're like, oh, wow, with a very simple technology, we can now harness the sun and plants. And now the plants and the people all like to work together. Because like you were mentioning, Tony, I don't want to be picking plants at noon in 105-degree weather. That's
with
dangerous.
The sun beating down on me. Right.
But now if I have solar panels above me, like maybe I could do that.
Right. So I mean, this could make farms more productive. This could make farms safer. We're just talking about the sun, but it would also be safer from pollutants and other things like that.
And I just want to throw out another thing, which, like solar panels can block hail and heavy rain. So if you have a crop underneath that you don't want to get hit, like strawberries or something that are delicate, like you could turn these into a 90-degree pattern to just protect them.
Right. I'm super excited about this idea, and it does take usually a little bit of government to kind of get it going. I know that there's been studies and stuff, but like
yeah, but I heard from a viewer earlier this week who was very excited about it in Maryland, and she was saying that there's so much pushback from the agriculture industry.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know if that's an evil pushback because they know something is going to change their way of life, or if it's just we don't understand it, so we're going to push back. But either way, that's sad because this could make such a difference if we just embraced it.
Well, I personally know people who are into gardening and farming, and they're like, you can't put solar panels anywhere because it kills everything below them. And it's like, no, it doesn't. I mean, you can go see places, and usually they just have grass under the solar panels. It's not crops or anything, but it's not like the grass is all dead.
Right.
And, there are trees, and there is underbrush underneath the trees, and those plants are able to survive.
Right.
And what are trees but solar panels that are up above everything else?
I know. I mean, I want to go another step further. If you talk about places like Ethiopia, the reason that we're trying to plant trees there now is, yes, trees are awesome for many other reasons, but it's also the shading factor. If you have a large desert-like area with no trees, you can't really grow anything.
Right.
But when you have something like trees or solar panels, you can then do a mixed use of vegetation that likes the shade.
Right. And I mean, trees do contribute to the soil. I'm not trying to say
Right.
that we should like get
Nope.
rid of trees and put up solar.
But I'm just saying, like, this would be another solution. Because, like, when you plant a tree, a new one especially, you got to wait years.
True.
Whereas solar panel, boom, you install it that day, it's up.
Right. And it's going to be producing electricity, which again is going to be a secondary crop, so to speak.
Or a primary crop.
Could be.
I just want to, it's a valuable crop, this
Right.
solar that we're getting.
And especially when we are going to switch to electric semi trucks and more electric cars, it's like, for all the people who are like, well, where's all the power going to come from? We're going to need to build more coal factories. It's like, no, you don't. If all we need is land.
Well, and then we keep throwing out the part that Tony brought up, which is that those valleys are full of diesel particulates, which is harmful to people and plants and animals.
Right.
And it's like, we're just being like, well, don't count that.
That's an externality.
Yeah, I
Who
don't know.
cares about
How would you even count it?
Right. And it's like, it does have an impact. It does have an effect. One person having some kind of awful lung disease, it doesn't just affect that one person. It affects so many more people
Right.
In their lives that, just little changes could make huge differences. I'm just, thank you, Tony, for pumping me up on that, because when I'm sitting there in the office and we're just like, hey, I did some back of the napkin math, and it looks like, all the spinach in California, if it was covered with solar panels, would produce this much power. It's like, that's one thing. But to have a farmer in California saying like, hey, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not crazy.
Right.
I'm not an idiot.
Right.
It must be a good idea. So
Yeah.
woo. All right. Let's talk about
Something
Rivian.
I'm super excited about, which is Rivian, because as the dates get closer to June, we are getting the R1T.
Mm-hmm.
We hope they don't push this date back. And I got to say, this would be about the time they would push it back. But instead, they've been putting out these cool videos. Check this one out. This is them testing the R1T in super cold weather.
If you hit a gust of wind, like your hands just freeze.
Yeah.
This morning we had some difficulty because our measuring equipment was like too cold to be able to measure the signal values.
But the truck was ready to go.
Yeah,
Truck
truck
was
was ready
ready,
to
yeah.
go.
Yep,
Just the
yep, yep.
measuring equipment not ready. Yeah, all the vehicles have their own hotspot now.
So if you look that way, to my left, that's Canada. That's how far north in the US we are right now.
So what we're looking for here is the range in the cold weather. So while we're using full HVAC and we're traveling in cold ambience, we're also trying to get down to a very low state of charge by the time we return to the track, so that we can do another cold soak tonight and test charging again in the morning at even colder temperatures. We've been testing at 400 amps. We want to get 500 amps. So that's exciting for us. I'm not sure if they do this anywhere in the States, but in Canada, some people will like skate down the river to work in the mornings. You could either live on a bus route or on a river.
That is definitely what we want.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's go out. Yeah. The goal is we want to have a safe, stable, robust car that my mum or dad can get into and drive and feel very confident and safe when they're in the snow or ice conditions. Making sure that our algos detect that we're driving on snow and adjust how much torque is driven into each wheel. And it affects the balance between a lateral support or handling and then acceleration.
That's the good thing about the electric motors, is that very, very responsive. Instantly give torque, but also take it away.
We're doing all of our tire sign off. We get ready for production, as well as the hydraulic and damping systems, air suspension systems, and then performance with the braking, ESP, and traction control. These are production intent systems that we're calibrating and then validating.
You're getting really excited about it. I
Yeah,
can
well,
tell.
One reason is with Tesla, they're very tight-lipped. We go to their unveilings and we get to see a car on stage and we get to ride in it for 90 seconds. But generally they don't put out videos like this until usually after the car is pretty much out. And even then you don't really see this.
Sunday night, developing traction control for some of our more fun driving modes. We're working on drift mode right now. You can see the R1S up there is backed pretty far out. And this is about as perfect of conditions as you can get. Beautiful sunset, perfectly slippery, nice and cold. You can see the R1S is having a lot of fun. We are as well. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is the CEO of the company, RJ Scaringe, in the truck, or like this video, right? Where he's showing off the truck, his family's in the back seat. That to me shows that he's got a lot of confidence in his truck. He understands his product. He's driving it with his family. That's a big statement.
It's very different than what we saw with, say, Nikola,
Yes.
for example.
Nikola. You can't even compare the two.
I know that you can't, and I mean that's a good thing for Rivian. To me, I don't want to be just overly negative about everything. Like if Tesla was in this exact same situation and they're putting out these videos, I'd be like, oh, okay. But
Well, here's the other point.
Is it going to work?
This isn't a product that just was developed 2 months ago. They've had this out for years. And in fact, a lot of people are like, why is this not in the market yet? And I like that. It means they've been really pushing it hard to do what it says it can do, which is a very tough thing. Driving on a road is one thing. Driving off-road is a complete other thing. And they've been in all sorts of road rallies. They've been, they did the long way up from the bottom of the world to Los Angeles. So they've had plenty of testing, which makes me feel more confident that when we get the R1T, it's going to be able to handle whatever we throw at it.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm very excited to do our own testing and see what it's actually like to own, because keep in mind, with all of these flashy, beautiful things, if something breaks, they have a trailer and a team ready to fix it in, a couple hours. Whereas for us, it's going to be like, where do you take it to get serviced?
And that's one of the things we want to report to you, along with the charging. Those service and charging are two big questions that I have, but I think this competition is really good for Tesla because let's just imagine a world where there's no Rivian. That probably means that Ford doesn't have a truck. That means that Amazon is not coming out with their fleet of vans probably.
Right.
And
Lordstown probably wouldn't exist either.
Right.
It would just be Tesla coming out with a Cybertruck, which makes it would make Tesla look worse, in my opinion, because it'd be like, first of all, it looks weird. Second of all, why do we need an electric pickup truck? But you can't have that. It doesn't exist. You can't do it. And just like Tesla had proven before, I think that they would be able to prove again. But having so much competition allows for people to go, oh, okay, so everyone's doing it. So I guess it's a thing.
And I think for Elon, having those nipping at your heels competitors is a good thing. It pushes him to make his products even better. I think that we're going to see the Cybertruck even better than when he unveiled it, because he knows that he's got to really blow away his competition. Yeah. If they weren't there, he could have been like, yeah, whatever, stick whatever battery you want in it.
Can we talk about service for a minute? I want to talk about Tesla service. We had just been to the service center a little while ago. I was getting some simple thing replaced. You were getting some...
they were doing the safety bolt recall for the steering bolts and checking out my applique on the top, which is fine.
So we went down to Tesla Watertown, which is a Tesla service center near us-ish. Very hard to get to, not near the highway at all. You have to take back roads.
It's one of the first service centers they ever had.
Right. And it's tiny.
Very tiny.
Puny. Teensy weensy.
The only fun part about going there is that the parking lot is all Teslas. So you see 40 Teslas in the parking lot.
Packed. There was no place for us to park.
Nope.
And so the problem for me, I think, is that if Tesla's thinking about their service centers and they're thinking about all service centers are created equal, not true.
Not true at all.
It looks great as a dot on the map because you go, great, we got this covered. Great. No, it was basically meant to cover Model S.
Early Model S's.
Model S's, and that's it.
Right.
Not even Model X's, nothing beyond that. It probably was at capacity back in 2014.
Right. It's very short-sighted. Their service has been very slow to expand in this area, at least. And
Right. And I'm not blaming anyone who works there. They're not the
they're
ones
great.
who are in charge. And I'm not blaming Elon. He doesn't need to. He's not visiting all of
There's
this.
a middle level of management at Tesla that in certain parts of the country, and again, I don't want to blame all because I think
we can only see our section.
but we do hear from a lot of you, and in certain places it's awesome. It sounds like they've got their act together, but in other places it sounds like they fly in from somewhere. And they're like, well, okay, where are we? And it really doesn't feel like they know the area, because when they put down a location, it's usually like, why would you choose that location? There's places that make sense, and then there's places that don't.
And I'm just saying, get rid of Tesla Watertown, move to somewhere that's on one of the highways in Massachusetts. There's tons of them.
Right.
Obviously, there's also Dedham. Dedham is another perfect example, because I think we were getting so many early Model S owners. We got a lot of the early infrastructure, which cannot keep up.
Right.
They are always packed there.
Right.
When they were doing the Model 3 deliveries, like when there was that Model 3 push, it was a madhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla needs someone to be like just like a little bit better perspective and be like,
Oh, I am sure that if Elon, I don't think Elon's ever visited these service centers. I think if he did, he would be like, get me someone on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm assured of that.
Yeah.
The way they've handled people there, not very good. Like, there's just been a middle management problem, and I don't know that he's aware of it. He probably doesn't. I mean, he's just one man. How could he be in charge of all of it? But like, there needs to be a change, because you're going to make a lot of people angry, and you're going to waste a lot of money, and you're going to, those are not good things.
yeah, both of those things you don't want to do.
But this gets back to, I think you were talking about Rivian service.
Yeah,
It's
so-
like, Rivian, learn from this.
Right.
Like, where to set up your service.
And it's going to be pretty easy in the beginning, because when you have a limited number of customers, because you have a limited number of, limited production, very easy to treat them all very kindly.
Yep.
Very easy to, any little garage with one bay, probably enough to cover it. What I'm worried about is 2 years in, when there's more and more and more Rivians, especially in particular areas, and it's like, oh, we weren't equipped to deal with that.
Right.
The same thing that we see in, say Massachusetts.
Sign some short-term leases in the beginning. Don't sign
Yes.
on to a 5-year lease.
Yeah,
like, just get a 1 or 2 year lease.
Be planning on moving to new service centers, because, so for instance, like in Massachusetts, they opened one in Peabody, right on the highway.
Smart.
Nice big facility, nice big parking lot.
Yep.
It's not packed.
Right.
That's what I am expecting to see going
Right.
forward. We shouldn't be. It doesn't feel like luxury when you're cramped in a very tight,
Right.
parking lot, very tight facilities. It just
Other
doesn't
thing
feel
is,
right.
make all your employees drive the cars. I know that, in the early days, Tesla didn't have enough cars to do that, but like, I would make sure that they take one home every day so that they're really getting used to it, because the last thing you want as an owner is to show up to a service station and be talking to someone and they're just like not really getting it. Like,
Right.
they may get, how to fix the car, but like, they need to own the car, just like you wouldn't expect to go to a ICE repair shop and have them be like, so the carburetor,
Right.
And
And I mean, I think that these are things that people learn when they're there, but having them drive the cars, they're going to learn it in like a week, as opposed to months and months of trying to repair things that they don't know which one they're doing.
So this next story is a little depressing, but I think it's important for us to talk about it. So this is the Messina Strait. It's a submarine bridge separating the island of Sicily from the Italian peninsula, and it's the area with the largest marine litter density worldwide, more than 1 million objects per square kilometer in some parts. So over the next 30 years, the volume of rubbish in the sea could surpass 3 billion metric tons. And as you're watching this video and you're just seeing all this trash sitting there, remember that like we just as humans decided, well, it's just easier to just throw it over there than to deal with it properly. And this is the result of it. Professor Miguel Canals, the head of Consolidated Research Group on Marine Geosciences at UB, said, marine litter has reached the most remote places in the ocean, even the least or never frequented by our species and not yet mapped by science. In order to correct something bad, we must attack its cause. And the cause of the accumulation of waste on the coasts, the seas, and the oceans, and all over the planet is the excess waste generation and spillage in the environment and poor or insufficient management practices. As humans, we have little or no care at all to prevent litter from accumulating everywhere. It just makes me mad because this stuff isn't really going to break down anytime soon, and it's just going to be sitting there. And now, as you begin to see like plants growing off it, it just becomes like, oh my God, that we've just created this plastic waste all over the planet.
Right.
And because we can't see it, on the surface, it's like, oh, look at the blue ocean, it's beautiful. But like dip below the surface, it's kind of a metaphor for all of our problems. It's like right below the surface, humans have all sorts of problems.
If you had to see it every day, like people who live on coasts and on islands and stuff like that, they will comment on it constantly. They're constantly annoyed and frustrated by the amount of pollution in the oceans. For people who don't live next to the oceans, for people who don't live anywhere near the oceans, it's like, what are you talking about? I don't see it. And usually they're not even having this conversation because it's just something that doesn't appear to them.
If I were in charge, I would have steep fines for polluting,
right?
And I would actually use the fines to fund having policing so that you could catch people. So whether you've got, a Coast Guard or beach guards,
right,
because that's unacceptable. We shouldn't allow it.
It's amazing the power that a law could have. I mean, you could basically just say for any piece of plastic that gets produced, it needs to have a little number on it, and that number correlates to whatever factory produced it. And then you just say, okay, if we find this in the ocean, we scan it, and it comes up with your factory, you're going to be charged, I don't know, 50 cents or more.
Yeah, giving them incentive to do the proper recycling.
So then, you'd either say, oh, hey, we shouldn't be making all of these bottles because we can't control what happens to them.
Even simpler, do a tax on virgin plastic.
That would be like
if
the
you
easiest
did that,
way.
Then it would be like, oh, could you just recycle the plastic instead? So much cheaper.
But doing something would be good. Yeah. That would be a good thing to try.
But what's funny? In the media, we hardly ever talk about things that are being tried and what's working best and what's not working. It's just, policy is not something that we grow up thinking about. And so therefore,
we're so used to politics
right,
and not policy.
And we were kind of like, you know what? You're the politician, so you take care of that. Right. And it's like, they're not any brighter than we are. Why don't we tell them what we'd like our policies to be?
And why do we have series that revolve around people? Like, why is it that we care so much about like who the president was or who the, this person was, this person? I mean, obviously we're humans, so we care about people, but if you had a story that's more based around policy, actually a lot of really good documentaries, about particular points in history, they do focus on the policy and the effects that it will have. Usually it's, if we're talking like civil rights or something like that, it's better. It's easier to focus because it has to do with people.
Do you remember Stephen Colbert used to do on his Colbert Report? He used to do Know Your Representative or Know Your Congressman, and he would interview, 3rd District of Maryland, and he'd go there. And the frustrating part was, I can't vote for the 3rd District of Maryland. Right. Like, I'm here in Massachusetts. Right. So even though it was great to get to know that person and be like, that's an idiot, or that's a really smart person, it's like, I can't do anything about it. And that's kind of the frustrating part is each of our districts has their own politician for whatever reason that they got there, and we can't really affect it. What I want to know more about is how smart are they? Who do they pick to be their advisors? Who do they pick to be their policy people?
Right. But the crazy part is, though, that probably no one knows about that person.
Right.
Like even the people who do vote for them.
Right.
And that's the scary part for me. And that's where it's like government has done such a good job of like hiding itself.
Yes. Yeah, because to that point, why not when you're electing someone, why not say, who's your team going to be? And they go, well, if I'm elected, he's going to be this and she's going to be that. Like, and then you could be like, oh, wow, that person picked a really good team, or that person picked a really awful team.
Right. And why do we have to focus on only the president? And why can't you focus on the people who are going to make decisions that are probably going to affect you a little bit more, because a lot of the decisions are going to be closer to you, but could listen to your ideas and push to get them happening around the world.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating that we don't.
Again, if this were taught in school, if we started with 5-year-olds and taught them age-appropriate stuff at 5 and then kept moving up, then by the time they were in college, they would be experts at everything to do with politics and government, and also they'd know about taxes, and they would know all of this stuff. We don't teach it.
Right.
It's on purpose. It's upsetting to me.
Right. And all we need with education is just a little bit so that you know enough to where you can get started. Right. Like if what frustrates me is that so many people are like, oh, all I remember from school is mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And it's like, yeah, you learn something that, if you were going to go be a biochemist, it'd probably be very important. But for most people, for like, I want to say definitely over 80% of the population, completely doesn't, but it's great for those biochemists because they actually got that first introduction into it. And that, it's a very difficult thing to just get started on if you had no, basis of it. So it was good that we had that. But why don't we have that for other things, more tangible things?
Yeah. All right, this next story, I have not seen the video you put in here. I want to see it.
So we're going to watch it.
All right.
Damn it! Holy mackerel! Olaf!
This just arrived for you. It smells like fishy.
I don't care. The Americans are coming, and Will Ferrell does not look happy.
What do we do?
We have to make a public apology, and we have to get rid of anything else that might make Will envy us in any way. If he gets so annoyed about our electric vehicles, I can't imagine how he'll react to all the other stuff.
All right. Action.
Dear Mr. Ferrell, dear General Motors, on behalf of our university and the rest of Norway, we are truly sorry. We want to maintain a strong and sound relationship with the United States. And of course, we shouldn't have become the leading country in the world when it comes to electrical vehicles without checking with you first. And we fully understand that you want to punch us in the face. But our collaboration with you is of utmost importance. Our student exchange, for instance.
I pay tuition.
Again.
I pay tuition?
One more time.
I pay tuition.
Good.
But I don't pay tuition. Education in Norway is free, even for us Americans.
Well, I know that, but Will Ferrell does not have to know. We also hope that we can continue our extensive research collaboration with many American universities. We collaborate, for instance, with the University of...
Good afternoon, Rector. I was hoping I could talk to you about our battery research. That project that uses clean, renewable hydropower to recycle and reuse batteries from electric vehicles?
Okay, but we'll have to talk about this later. This is really not a good time.
Okay.
What we're trying to say is that if you want
See you at the opening of the battery factory then.
Yes. What we're trying to say is that if you want to become the #1 country in the world when it comes to electrical vehicles, we won't stand in your way. We'll even help you and co-create the knowledge you need. Excuse me. Hello?
Hi, Rector! I just wanted to say goodbye, and I'll see you next year. I'm off for my 1-year paid maternity leave.
Sorry about that.
Not sorry!
Oh my God.
So just
that was
case,
awesome.
Just in case you didn't think that GM ad did more bad than good.
Oh man, we told you, didn't it? We told you they were going to be upset and that they were taking this seriously.
Look.
I love that.
That's hilarious, though. that's really funny. It's not that they took it seriously. It's that they interpreted the humor.
Yeah.
Regurgitated it back.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it looks like. Yep. Like what kind of an ad was that?
Mm-hmm.
And of course I'm talking about the GM Super Bowl ad with Will Ferrell.
Backfire.
Yeah. You have the killer Audi commercial, which just ripped. That one was really good. And then this one, I don't know. It's just like, why would you ruin goodwill?
I've first of all got to imagine that they didn't understand anything about what they were doing. And I think that they probably took Will and his comedy writing and were just like, yeah, let's go with it. Whatever you came up with there. So Will, I hope Will didn't write it. I hope he was I hope for his sake that he was told to do it. But
I kind of hope that he did, because I think that tongue in cheek, he would know that
he could have kept it without the punching part. He could have kept just the they're so weird part, and that would have maybe worked. But when you go to the level of I hate you, Norway,
I think
that was just.
I think that he was going above and beyond because he, at least in my mind, he doesn't like GM either. And he was like, yeah, I'll do an ad. You can give me money and I'll make you look bad to the whole rest of the world. And maybe Americans will get it, but probably most Americans won't get it. And you're so that had to have gone in front of somebody of the GM government.
I want to go back to the politics thing.
Yeah.
I would love for that video that we just saw to be aired at a Super Bowl,
right,
where Americans could go, wait, there's a country where you could get a year of maternity leave.
Right.
I'd like that
tuition,
because
healthcare,
usually
right,
politicians tell you, no, that's not possible. We couldn't afford it. You'd never be able to afford it. And it's like, well, how are they doing it?
Right.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
Well, do you want to see my video? This is time to buy an e-bike.
Okay.
Look at you. Or maybe it's better you don't. Life's moving fast and you just aren't keeping up. You got married, had a kid, worked a soul-crushing office job, then gracefully moved on. You started your dream company making picnic tables for squirrels. People said you were nuts, but now business is booming. You're living the dream, partner. But these days you're so busy, you forget to eat. And I hope you're not hungry, because you're out of diapers, and you're on diaper duty. Duty. Start the car, hit the gas, drive to the store, grab the diapers. We're out of gas, turn around, get out, fill your tank, get in, drive back home. Midnight. Your wife asked you to pick up groceries tomorrow. You say okay, then pass out. Wake up, new day, get up, coffee, phone call, take it, send it, email, sales, progress, errors, problems, numbers, math, spreadsheets, coffee, budgets, cry, hungry, toast, pickles, mustard, and a banana. Sales, money, spreadsheets, budgets. Nice work. You deserve a break. Your wife gets home. She's amazing. Holy shit. Nothing could ruin this moment. Oh, mate, the groceries. Come on, you're blowing it. You've been stuck inside all day. You didn't realize it's such a nice day out. Could it be time for a bike ride? Uh-oh, she caught you fantasizing. That's embarrassing. Riding your bike feels good. It clears your mind and gets your body moving. But you forgot about your arch nemesis, this godforsaken hill. Come on now, jello legs. Suddenly you get passed by a cyclist and they don't seem to be having any trouble at all. What is this wizardry? Is that a motor? You've seen something like this before. It was in that magazine. It's a bicycle, and the pedaling is assisted by electricity. Each time you pedal, your energy is tripled. It's like you're magically stronger. No gas, no throttle, just go. Well, time to buy an e-bike. Buy an e-bike off a guy online and bring it home. It's time to charge your brand new... crap, it's on fire. Didn't you learn last time? Relearn that not all bikes are created equal. Go out and buy a proper e-bike. Talk to an expert who knows their stuff. They tell you that these bikes are the future and that these things rip. Plus, mine changed my life. I even sold my car, man. You're in. You'll take it. They say, oh, I don't work here. I just love these things. So do you want to hang out? That was odd, but you buy it anyways. And this time your e-bike doesn't explode in flames. You feel incredible, like you could ride forever. Not this time, you filthy urban mountain. Go farther, faster. You're almost home, but you're not ready to go home. You just figured out what this thing can do. Start noticing things you've never seen before, like that nice house, and that guy mowing the lawn in his underwear. This is great, but your family's missing out. Guess it's time to build more picnic tables. Chuck them in a box. Tape them up. Come on. Stubborn tape. There we go. Nailed it. Buy another e-bike. And family time gets a whole lot better. But wait, there's more. You just received your biggest order ever. Every day you battle to run errands. Oh yes, baby! It's time for a bike ride! Leaving the house is no longer a chore, it's an experience. There's nothing that can hold you back anymore. This is you going full carpe diem. The next morning, you receive a call with bad news. Your biggest order of the year fell through. Sometimes life deals you a bad hand, but you just gotta get back on the horse and make lemonade. Or, I don't know, metaphors are hard when you're sad. Go for a ride to clear your head. Come across a path you've never seen before. Take a moment to reset and realize that this is just a bump in the road on your journey. You just gotta keep moving forward, mate. But first, take care of that family of yours.
Long advertisement.
Yeah, well, I mean, funny. It was done in conjunction with Trek, and I do have to say the part of this video I didn't like is when they refer to like e-bikes as being able to explode or blow up because
you bought an e-bike online and then it blew up.
I mean, we have dozens of e-bikes.
We've tested dozens of e-bikes.
We've never had anything blow up or smoke.
Right.
And
none of that.
Also, Trek, I'm sure, is buying the same parts. Like, let's not fool around here. I have not heard of an American-made battery pack for an e-bike that isn't super expensive. So
I think they'd at least get the cells
right
from. They're not going to get them from what, Tesla? Like, no.
Right. But I love all the rest of the stuff in this video. Yeah. It just shows off kind of I think the misconceptions about, like, well, if I'm going to take a bike, I'm never going to be able to make that hill. And then with an e-bike, yeah, you're a superhero. Like, you can make that hill.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited for this year to be e-bike riding around. I think that I kind of want, if it wasn't so dangerous, I would love to have been able to ride my bike back and forth to work.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
it goes back to bike infrastructure. It goes back to walking infrastructure. And it goes back to government. It's like,
well, and what really just kills me is that if you were asking to build a nuclear power plant, you understand that is really expensive, takes years of planning, blah, blah, blah. But to build a sidewalk or a bike path is not expensive. It's just that most towns are like, well, we don't do that, so we're not going to do it. And it's impossible. And I've said this before. In my town, for over 20 years, I've been asking for sidewalks and bike paths, and I get met with these ridiculous things from our town, which is like, well, it costs $1 million a mile to build. And it's like, no, it doesn't. You guys build roads all the time, and it doesn't cost that much. It's like, this is just 4 feet of asphalt or concrete or whatever.
Right.
And if you built it, yes, I know there'd be no way to count the value that you just did. Like, it wouldn't be like every day I'd put $1 in a jar, but it would make everyone's life so much better.
And especially for this past year. I mean, I've noticed a huge increase in the number of people walking around our town. And
this is the time to push for it.
Right. And it's almost been scary in some places because we have fairly narrow roads and no sidewalks at all.
The only thing that's getting me through this is I know that autonomous is coming. And so I know that basically we don't need to do that much because pretty soon humans won't be driving. And when humans aren't driving, safety is going to go up. And so maybe we're going to be able to come up with this new system with less asphalt, with less width, because if you think about it, a lot of the width that we have for roads right now is because we're trying to do like parking on street, and we're trying to do 2 cars passing each other and stuff. And if you
don't need to park the cars in the street, and if the cars knew that they were both approaching each other, and one could either pull over into a specific culvert that you have, carved out to the side, and then the other car can pass, just like a train,
or one way. Like, I think that as Americans, especially, I'll just speak for Americans. I think that at some point in our history, when cars came out, we were like, one-way street, that's so limiting. What if I want to go left?
What if I want to go the other way?
But as soon as you say you want your car to go left and right, that now means that your street has to be wide enough for that, which means a whole other things have to happen. Whereas if you just want to go one way, then it's easier. You don't have to look both ways.
And what we're talking about, though, it exists. I mean, there's such a thing as, a road. I think it has like usually double dotted lines on each side. And it's basically a road that can't really accommodate 2 lanes of traffic, which is kind of like the roads that we have around our house. But basically, that if you see another car, you're going to have to slow down and slowly pass each other.
But what about one way?
No, you're right. One way.
I mean, with autonomy, it wouldn't really inconvenience you because, it'll be a slight longer thing, but it'll be...
But you're not driving.
Exactly.
So you don't even notice because you're just sitting in the car. And it's like, getting there an extra 30 seconds faster is not going to make the difference.
Which means that extra width now can be used for safely putting in bike lanes.
Right.
There's so much
protected
good that
bike lanes,
can happen. Yeah, and let's just talk about protected for a second, because I think when we first thought about bike lanes, especially in America, we're like, yeah, any old 4 feet will work.
Right.
But,
Paint it in.
But that's not safe.
Make a
and
gutter.
Right.
Put it right in the gutter. Perfect.
And then any little thing in that gutter, a parked car, trash barrel, now you've just defeated the point because now the bike has to go out into the road, which is dangerous. Having a protected bike lane is what we need. And yes, it's a little more complicated to design, but who cares? Right. Do it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's this great YouTube channel called Not Just Bikes, and he lives in Amsterdam, and Amsterdam is like the capital of good bike infrastructure, and he's basically just talking about it. It's not like he's in charge or anything. He's just like, here's what they do in Amsterdam, and it works really well. And it's very, very interesting to see the difference in how, like, if it's faster to take a bike, people are going to take a bike, which means that fewer people are on the roads. Or like if you have bus lanes that are specifically just for buses, so the buses don't have any traffic, more people take the bus because you can get around town faster, which means that there's less cars because less people are getting in their cars to drive places because it's faster to get onto the bus.
I was amazed by that episode where he showed how many people in communities where they built the bike lanes properly are willing to ride their bikes in cold weather.
Right.
Like I just assumed oh no, you can't do it.
Right.
But you can.
And maintain the bike lanes.
Right.
That basically they prioritize the bike lanes, but you don't need a huge, massive, super expensive plow. You actually need something that's way more affordable.
A Monarch tractor.
Right. I mean, yeah, like that size tractor to fit on smaller bike lanes. It's actually way cheaper to maintain roads of that size than it is to maintain roads for cars.
Yeah. And I was amazed to see that like you can leave packed snow on them and they're perfectly safe.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of...
it's just so cool to see like a school in Finland where half the kids rode their bike to school in the winter.
Right, in the
like,
winter.
How great is that for exercise and for sociability and just, it's just would be so nice if we could adopt some of these ideas. And that goes back to the GM ad and this Norwegian response, which is if we showed Americans that there's another way of thinking about these things, if we got Americans out of their little comfort zone, get them traveling.
And break through the barrier. Yeah.
I think we should have a mandatory program, a exchange program where Americans get out of our country for a semester at least and get them into other countries, and then we can invite in others from around the world to see our stupid way of doing things.
And again, it's not to say that Americans do everything stupid. I think
we do some things right.
There's particular things that we do right. None come to mind at the moment, but
Tesla.
I know that
it's an American company.
There you go. Right. So I think that just the sharing of ideas, that's a wonderful thing about the internet. I mean,
it is.
If we'd have to be on some soapbox in the middle of a city and no one would be listening to us. Being able to sit comfortably in your home and get information broadcast to you is very powerful. But yeah, I mean, I think that, I'll say I don't think that people actually need to travel as long as they're being exposed to really well-produced content. But
I will say there's a difference between watching a 20-minute video on people biking and experiencing it yourself. When I went to Amsterdam, for instance, or to Copenhagen, and I saw with my own eyes and experienced people just riding bikes.
You're just like,
okay. Maybe I could have made a video that it showed that, but I don't know. It's just so much more like overwhelming when you live there for a while and you experience it.
Right. So, yeah. E-bikes. E-bikes are the key because here it is. It's the Tesla of bikes. It breaks through the barrier of being like, I can't bike anywhere because I can't go that far.
Yep.
Now you can go as far as you want. You can go as fast as you want. It's really fun.
Yep.
So, e-bikes.
Let's talk about Fisker. They're going to be partnering with Foxconn to make their electric car. Fisker is one of these companies that it's like the boy who cried wolf. It's like, I don't really know.
They made a car. It was a hybrid.
They did.
They made the Karma. Mm-hmm. It's in my favorite movie.
Yes.
But
what's your favorite movie?
In Order of Disappearance.
Great movie.
Norwegian movie.
Yeah. But that wasn't a fully electric car.
No, it was a hybrid.
Right.
And they haven't done much since.
There's a lot of promises.
They sold the Karma to a Chinese company to make it, and now they've not done much this whole time. And then let's talk about Foxconn. Is that a car manufacturer?
No, it is not. They make small electronics.
Like phones.
But I mean, smart on Foxconn's part because, I mean, they see the future. They know that. I mean, let's just talk about America for a second.
Right.
California, Massachusetts, and now Washington State have all said they want to ban ICE cars California, Massachusetts by 2035. Washington just said 2030.
Right.
So that's I like 2030. That's a good number.
And that aligns with Europe.
Right.
Many
So
places in Europe.
okay. So let's just go down that road. Right. Another year or so, and all the states kind of start agreeing on that. Because once California's done it, I'm sorry, that's the country.
Right.
So if you're not going to have any more ICE cars at a certain point, now companies like Foxconn are like, oh, there's going to be a lot of electric cars made. Right. How can we get onto this game? Now, I don't think it was that smart to go with Fisker, because I'm like, what did Fisker bring you? Maybe design, you could argue. But, I mean, I don't think they have any real tech. I think that's going to be developed by Foxconn.
I'm going to argue it's not a bad idea. Here's my thought, right? Okay. They work with Fisker for a little while, works out or it doesn't. But they've been getting experience the whole time, and this is like a good excuse. If Foxconn said... Like Fisker gives them like just enough credibility to be like and I don't mean like to us, I mean like on CNBC, they're like, Fisker today, blah, 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 blah. And they show a picture of a Fisker Karma and they're like, oh, it must be a real car, even though I've never seen one in real life. They go, okay, they're doing that thing. Great. Foxconn, good job.
I think you just hit on something though that's kind of dangerous, which is when we went to the LA Auto Show and there were some Fisker cars there. I don't know what brand it was, if it was Fisker or if it was...
I think it was
Revero. But
it might have been Revero.
But when you see cars, your initial human reaction is like, real! And I think that's the Nikola reaction, which is like, real truck. He's standing in front of a real truck.
Right.
I think that's probably how you interest a company, right? Their execs come down and they sit in your car and they do stuff with it, and they're like, real good. So smart, because I'm sure that if you showed them just some pictures on a computer screen, they'd be like, real? But if that's as far as you got, like Elon has said a bazillion times, okay, you made a prototype. Good for you. That's not the hard part.
Right.
This is the hard part, the manufacturing. So they claim, Foxconn claims they're going to manufacture the vehicle at a projected annual volume of more than 250,000. They are going to have global market scope, including North America, Europe, and China, and India. Projected start of production is Q4 2023. This will be the second vehicle introduced by Fisker brand following the launch of the Ocean SUV in Q4 of 2022.
Yeah, it's not coming out.
That sounds impossible to me. Okay, Q4 of 2022. Possible. That's next year.
Right.
How are you going to build the factory?
I don't know.
Gear up all your robots, get all of your suppliers, because I'm sorry, Foxconn can't make all the parts. They can't be vertically integrated on day one. They have to get other parts. Batteries. So I'm like, maybe they'll push out a few vehicles, like practically handmade. I just think they're going to push these dates back. I just don't see how they're going to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so easy to push dates back, especially when these vehicles are so like...
Oh, but they're luxurious. Right. Give us more time, wouldn't you? Fine wine is aged, so should our product.
All right, let's get on to this. We were talking about how Bill Gates was shorting Tesla. And
Bill Gates' response. Let's see.
All right.
Elon has in the past claimed you shorted Tesla, and I wonder if there's any truth to that.
Well, I think Tesla's an amazing company. I wish I'd been more on the long side, but it's great. And I have lots of relatives who own Teslas that I've helped buy for them. So nothing but positive thoughts about Tesla and its role.
Now that said, I'm curious for your thoughts here, because Tesla could potentially make more money from its Bitcoin investment this year than profits from electric cars in all of 2020. What's your take on that? What's your Bitcoin take, and the fact that the price can just go up or down based on a simple tweet from him?
Well, look, Elon has tons of money and he's very sophisticated. So, I don't worry that his Bitcoin will sort of randomly go up or down. I do think people get bought into these manias who may not have as much money to spare. So I'm not bullish on Bitcoin. And, my general thought would be that, if you have less money than Elon, you should probably watch out.
If you have less money than Elon, you should watch out.
Elon's the second richest man in the world right now at the current moment.
Right.
So everyone should watch it. It's just Elon should be the only one who owns Bitcoin. I mean, I'm
wanna go
not
back
even that into Bitcoin.
I want to go
think
back to the
that's
first question he was asked, where he did. First of all, he was so uncomfortable; you could just sense it. And then
deflect,
and then he had to do this really weird. Well, I mean, I've bought Teslas for family members.
Yeah.
What?
That's a weird. That's a bad flex. Like I don't. Like I know that you're like one of the richest people in the world, but like Elon doesn't go around talking about like, oh yeah, I bought some guy something
and some Windows 95 for people.
Yeah, that was. I mean, then also basically said, I wish I was more on the long side. That's essentially admitting that he was shorting Tesla.
And that's kind of the beauty of Elon going on things like Rogan and just coming out with this stuff, and that forces people like Gates to have to answer to it, because then every reporter is going to ask you that question. Let's go on to this little interview nugget.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk was recently on Joe Rogan's podcast and speculated that Bill Gates was shorting Tesla stock. So I asked Bill Gates to set the record straight.
I think what Elon's done with Tesla is fantastic. It's probably the biggest single contribution to showing us that electric cars are part of how we solve climate change. And now he's got a carbon removal challenge. So we need more Elon Musks. We need one for steel and cement and all the different categories.
So you're not short Tesla stock, just so we're clear.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't talk about my investments, but I think he should be very proud of what he's.
So
I'm gonna have to use that line sometime. I don't talk about my investments, but I'm proud of. I'm sure he's proud of what he's done. Also, that little thing he did at the beginning where he deflected again, and he was like, "Elon's done great things to show us how electric cars are helping the environment, but we need one of him for steel and for cement."
Right.
And it's like a little underhanded, like you're not doing enough.
He frustrates
Bill Gates.
me.
He really does. The more you learn about Bill Gates' history and how he got to where he is, it's like, man,
luckiest guy in the world.
Really lucky guy. Right place, right time. Really kind of stole a lot of things.
And not
DOS.
the brightest. If he was shorting Tesla at any point.
At any point.
I mean, yikes, because what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just really glad that Elon called him out on it.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to just wrap up by reminding everyone about the book club, because I've been reading more of Hitchhiker's Guide. And it's really interesting how I listened to Elon on that Clubhouse call and how he reminded us that when he was feeling depressed about his life and about what he should do, he got his inspiration from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It was a book that when I read as a kid was kind of mind-blowing. It was just like the first book of its kind to me, in that, I don't know what you'd even call it. It's like comedy science fiction.
Yeah, it's comedy science fiction. It's a little absurdist. We're definitely going to be talking about it on the book club. So
yeah, so that'll be Saturday, March 13th at 3 p.m. If you haven't joined up yet, head on
3
over
p.m.
to
Eastern Standard Time.
Right.
Sorry, we're talking to everyone around the entire world.
It could be a different time in your time zone. And we're only allowing about 50 people into the book club. There are some slots left if you'd like to join us there, so feel free to head on over there. And we got cool books lined up for after that, and I'm really looking forward to it. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. Thank you so much for joining us on the Patreon bonus stories. We'll go back onto the show. See you there.